everyone, we're the Good Doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Hinson.
I'm Dr. Donnelly.
And we're here with our next penultimate, almost our last installment of the Good Doctors recommend things they liked on Netflix, or things they found interesting.
Or things we just think you should encounter.
Or things that made us incandescently angry, as we're about to talk about today. So we've talked about loads of different things, documentaries, short shows, movies, all of the links you will find below to our playlist. We've also covered in the past Handmaid's Tale and The Crown. If you are just coming to us because we're talking about the Fyre documentary, we talk about lots of other things in pop culture. So all those links will be below this video. I will make sure and include them in the show notes. But today we are talking about Netflix's latest documentary release called Fyre Festival, The Greatest Party That Never Happened. And there's also been a documentary released on Hulu, also about the Fyre Festival. We've not seen it yet. To be honest, this one made me so angry, I'm going to have to take like a break before I watch the one on Hulu. So if anybody's watched the one on Hulu and this one, you know, let us know the differences. I think they take a slightly different perspective from what I've heard. But
Slate and EW both said to watch this one, so that's why we went with this one.
That's why we went with this one, and also we were recommending Netflix.
Yeah, it was pretty much easy.
They went hand in hand. So we're going to be talking about this. For anyone who doesn't know what the Fyre Festival is, it was supposed to take place at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018?
Summer of 2017.
Summer of 2017, yeah.
Because I watched it go down in real time.
Oh, yes, that's right.
On the Twitter.
Yes. So it was supposed to happen in the summer of 2017. It was going to be a fantastic, glamorous, celeb-filled movie or music festival in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, on a private island once owned by Pablo Escobar, as we are told very often by the promoters. And when people started showing up for the actual festival, realized that nothing was done, nothing happened as promised. They were in tents that were waterlogged. It was a complete and utter disaster. And a huge scandal ensued over how people were scammed into signing up for and paying thousands of dollars for a festival that never materialized.
So I've taken some notes, and they're very angry.
I write things in all caps.
Yeah, you were warned at one point. What?
Never been happier to be an introvert was what I wrote, because I wouldn't have been attracted to a giant party in the sand in the Bahamas to begin with.
Yeah. He's a crook in giant letters. If a Navy SEAL says that you are screwed, you are screwed.
You are screwed. Listen to Navy SEALs.
Listen to Navy SEAls. So we could rant about this for a while, and we know that you guys love it when we lather ourselves into a good rant, but we do think that there are actually some lessons to learn from this.
Yeah, so there are reasons why we're recommending this besides you just want to feel angry about something that's horrible in the world, because really there's a lot of other things you could choose.
So Billy McFarland, who is the chief promoter of this, there's other people like Ja Rule and whatever, but like the person we really are going to focus on
what
here.
happened to Ja Rule?
He says he came out on Twitter this week and said that he was also hoodwinked.
No. No. I call BS.
Yeah, no, whatever.
Continue. Billy
care.
McFarland.
I didn't care about Ja Rule before this documentary. Yeah. I continue to not care about Ja Rule.
I care about him significantly less.
Yeah. I was into him when he was making really good music in the 90s with Shanti, and now I'm no longer into him.
I don't need to see Ja Rule in my face anymore.
So Billy McFarland is an operational sociopath who is around our age, probably.
He looks to be probably
like mid-30s.
Maybe like early 30s. Yeah.
Early to mid-30s. Who, for his whole existence,
has been a hustler. Yeah.
And he was lying and manipulating people out of their cash before Fyre Festival. And I'm sure Magnesis, which was like a membership club in Manhattan for millennials.
Scam.
A scam. And I find all of this. I mean, there's a couple articles that are just going to tell you everything that went wrong with the Fyre Festival. But like Dr. Hinson said, it was a total scam from top to bottom. But what was really interesting about this documentary is it showed you that not only is he an operational sociopath, he has bought his own Kool-Aid. He has drunk his own Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he 100% believes
that it would just happen.
That he was good enough at bullshitting people, excuse my language, I will try not to swear anymore.
And raising money, and
that it would materialize the way he envisioned
out of nothing.
Out of nothing, and out of not hard work.
Yep.
And not careful planning, and not preparation, and all of the things that you would think you would need to do to run a giant music festival on a deserted island in the Bahamas.
So a couple things. I've not run a music festival single-handedly, but I've been on a team that did. So our festival happened in April. And we started doing intense strategic planning in October
of the previous
year. And that was an annual festival that had 30 years of experience behind it. And like, yeah. So the idea that they were at one point thinking they were going to pull this together in 45 days, I mean, I already just started laughing. So we're going to split this rant into two parts. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the hubris and what we can learn from hubris. And then Dr. Hinson's going to talk about the real danger of influencer culture, which I think is one of the things that this also strips pretty bare.
The power of social media. Yeah, was frightening.
Very, very frightening. Galileo. Anyway,
I know.
So
like a Queen reference.
Billy evidently has surrounded himself his whole life with people who think he's the absolute best thing since all get out. And as he started doing this Fyre festival, they interviewed all these people that he brought in and who, as the festival kept getting closer and closer, would look at him and tell him, this cannot happen. You cannot do this.
This isn't going to work. You don't have the planning permission. You don't have the sanitation.
You don't have toilets.
We can't fit all these people on this island. You name
a thing. And someone told him, for instance, like even at the beginning, this island that they bought from that was Pablo Escobar's island, turns out that they got kicked off of it because they were told not to say that in public. Then they put it on the influencer campaign. The person who actually owns that island said, get off my island. So they went to a not private island, but instead one of the larger islands, Grand Exuma in the Bahamas, which has a sandals resort. But they kept selling it as a private music festival on a private island. Okay. So that's just like a really close example. So like somebody looked at him and said that like you can't fit sanitation, and the talking head said, and then I was invited to no longer be part of Fyre Festival. Like the dude just looked at them and said, you can't fit that many toilets, and they fired him. And
because what was it? We don't have a culture of problems. We have a culture of solutions.
So many people said that over and over again in the documentary.
That's what he would just say to people when they said like, you don't have enough accommodation for the number of tickets you've sold.
Yeah.
They were uninvited to participate because that wasn't a solution.
Yeah.
That was a problem.
So let's have a really quick conversation about a solution-focused culture. Really good. Really, really good.
Not, in principle.
But what he was doing was not a solution-focused culture. A solution-focused culture, first, is just about not wallowing. Like, you have to acknowledge the problem, analyze the problem, and then come up with the solutions. I work in a solution-focused company. We are a solution-focused company. But in order to get to solutions, you have to start with the problems.
You have to accept that there is a problem, and you have to listen to the people who are telling you that it's a problem and believe them and respect them.
Yeah.
Step one.
It is toxic privilege run amok, like top to bottom. There were so many people that said to him, don't do this, you're defrauding the public. And he just kept going. So if you are ever in a situation in which you have this grandiose vision, visionaries are wonderful people. I occasionally dabble in being one. Fantastic. You have to find the person who's going to look at you and go, so the laws of physics say that this won't work. And you go, okay, and amend the vision.
Isaac Newton has some notes.
Thoughts on that. Yeah.
Has some notes.
Isaac Newton has some, would like to comment. And every time somebody said that to Billy, he fired them. So take a note. Don't do that. Terrible idea.
Bad idea.
Also, if you are planning your life based around models you follow on Instagram, we would like to encourage you to maybe not do that.
To stop. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, aside from the fact, all of the things that Dr. Donnelly just said, the fact that the vision that he had for this was clearly unsustainable. He was capable of bringing on professional media marketing, brought on somebody who worked for a company that was responsible for organizing music festivals. And this was one of the people in the room saying this was not possible.
Let me say too, before people get really judgy about all the vendors and all of the people that helped him, if you've never been in the powerful pull of an operational sociopath, you cannot judge these people.
Yeah.
Because a sociopath will make you believe that everything is magic.
And I didn't necessarily think the documentary did as good a job as building empathy with these other people. And I mean, they are responsible for
their choices.
but that choice comes with that caveat of being in the presence of that person. And their lives have been destroyed. Their professional careers have been destroyed. They are left with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt because they were scammed by this person. So I think a little empathy for them definitely goes a long way. So the thrust of my rant about, or the lesson that we're taking from this documentary, is about the power of the cult of celebrity, the power that we as a society give to people who are influential, particularly on social media platforms. So the initial launch, the promo video for this Fyre Festival was shot using 10 of the world's best supermodels, flew them down to the island that they still had access to at the time, and just filmed them. There was no real direction, but they just filmed models being models on an island in the Bahamas. They had paid the models to post about it on Instagram, to talk about the Fyre Festival, all of this stuff. And they put together this promotional video that was effectively like, I want to feel like it was similar to Will Smith's video, like Miami. That was just one of those glorified, look at what the life you could have.
Like somebody said the Fyre Festival was in fact that ad. Like it was this weekend of decadence with like on a private yacht, like all this kind of stuff.
One guy said the Fyre Festival happened twice. The first time was on the island and the second time was the actual disaster. And so the power, the pull of influential people being models, and celebrity status, saying that this is what they were doing. And one of the things that I should say that came from the disaster of the Fyre Festival was that the FTC made it necessary, legally required, that people disclose when they're doing ads. So when you see things on Instagram now that says #ad, that was because of Fyre Festival, because these influencers weren't telling the public that they were being paid to promote this. So it gave the illusion that this was just their life, their everyday life. And it was Instagram come to life, the idea of this festival, when in actuality, that's not real life. And so for me, that was the most damaging lesson from this, or most prescient, was the power that we give influential people and who determines how these people are influential and how they dictate what we think our lives should look like and what type of goals we should achieve and what our waistline should look like or what our hair should look like or where our holidays should be or whatever. And the power of social media platforms, which are an illusion. We all create a reality on social media. I don't post pictures of me sleeping or after I've cried for 48 hours straight on a Facebook. It's the nice, happy pictures, and it's a construction of my life. And that's a great reminder from this festival to remember that the things you see on social media have been crafted, curated, constructed to present a false reality. It's not completely true. So that was my biggest takeaway. Beware what you see on these places. Beware what you hear from people. Ask questions. Do a Google search. At the end of the documentary, he was running another scam while out on bail for this one, and was selling tickets to exclusive events like the Met Gala.
You can't get tickets to that.
It's invitation only for celebrities at the behest of Anna Wintour. So
and you think Anna Wintour is going to let us in the room?
Google search.
Please.
Ask a question. Do some research. We are doctors. We are researchers. Just ask some questions before you give thousands of dollars to a fantasy.
One last note. Billy. Actually, two last notes. First of all, Billy has gone to prison for this act.
Anybody have any guesses? How long?
He is in for 6 years.
6 years for his 5 counts of felony.
It could have been up to 20 years for every count. So that's frustrating. It's not, I mean, God forbid he was a black man with a fifth of coke.
With an ounce of marijuana and you get more time in prison.
And secondly, so we're just going to park that because
we don't have time to talk about how broken the criminal justice system is, but know that is a part of this.
So Fyre was actually an app before it was a festival. It was a brand. And they talk a lot about the employees of the app, which I found really fascinating. And at one point he says to them, that on a conference call, evidently the Jagweed doesn't even have the character to come and face them. Clearly not.
No.
Says to them on a conference call that they will no longer be receiving paychecks, but they're not fired.
But they're not getting fired.
So then one of the women, who was amazing, came back at him and said, so you're not firing us because then we can't, so that we can't collect unemployment benefits? Like, if we quit, we don't get unemployment.
But if he fired them, they would qualify for
get unemployment.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not aware of employee benefits. Y'all, you hire one person and you become aware of employee benefits. If you are not willing to become aware of employee benefits, you should work out of your spare room alone forever.
You should not be in a position of leadership or in charge of other people.
So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I have people reporting to me and I don't know their benefits, find out. Please, immediately, right now.
So that was our rant stroke lessons we learned from watching the Fyre Festival.
Next week's going to be a lot happier.
Next
it's going to be about
promise. Food. Yes. So that wraps up today's Netflix recommendation from The Good Doctors. Next week's video, we will be talking about an episode of their food show, Chef's Table, focusing on South Philly's phenom chef of barbacoa, Christina Martinez. So we will be ending our series on Netflix recommendations on a much happier note than this. But we saw this documentary come out and a lot of people were talking about it. So we wanted to recommend it. It's worth watching. It's definitely a lot of lessons you can take from it, especially for culture, society, business, social media, any position you are in your life. You can learn a lesson of what not to do from Billy McFarland.
100%. In the meantime, I'm Dr. Donnelly.
And I'm Dr. Hinson.
And we'll see you next time. We're The Good Doctors. Bye.